mic is open, and I can pass this thing over to anybody that wants to share a thought. There will, let me just say, as per her wishes, she's being cremated, and we will have a memorial service on the weekend of the 18th and 19th, whether it'll be Saturday or Sunday. That Colin has to kind of work out, and then we'll know. So not next weekend, but the week after. So that's the plan. And as usual, she has a whole folder and the entire funeral service planned out, including all the music. It's already picked, Magda. So I haven't seen the folder yet, but I'll get to it this week. Okay. The mic is open. It's open mic morning.
I knew Linda probably for as long as I know Charlene, so that's 43 years or so. And, we went in and out of each other's lives, but we recently reconnected, I want to say a little over 2 years ago. She asked me to come here to do a presentation to the congregation, and I'm so glad she did because I got connected to all of you. And I learned more about Linda, her marvelous career, her as an educator, teaching others. I learned from her myself, but also I really appreciated her friendship. And standing by on the side, I was glad I made it here this morning. So much traffic coming from New Jersey, they closed down the Parkway ramps, but I made it in through Route 22 that I never heard before. I couldn't do GPS. So, but Charlene's here, and I'm just going to keep coming back. But glad to see everybody's here.
I knew Linda since the time I came to this church. I was very grateful that before I became a deaconess in the church, she came over to me and said, you would be a wonderful deaconess to the congregation. And her love towards me made me draw more closer to God. And I'll always remember all the fond memories of the prayer line ministry that she took over, and then I took over. And it was just a great experience, and may she rest in the sweetest peace.
I bought Billy a Giants pillow. So when they lost, he could drink it off and sleep it off. And the day I bought him the pillow was the day that Linda got rushed to the hospital 5 weeks ago, that Friday night. And they didn't have any pillows in the emergency room. So I went and I got Billy's pillow, and she took that pillow with her to JFK Memorial. She took it from her regular room to ICU, and she couldn't breathe last Friday, and she died on that pillow. And I'm going to give you that pillow. Okay, it's slightly used, but it's worth less now, but I'll get it to you.
I just want to say that I love Linda very much. We were very good friends. And she was very caring and loving, and she had a sense of humor that I really enjoyed. When we were younger, we always just talked out loud because her family and my family was just a little loud. It's well, we're very happy that Shannon and every now and then we go to lunch. It's very dear and it's big and small to us.
Jerry, I'll go. I will. I remember when Linda first came to church and I met her, and we would go on retreats with Richwire, and her and her husband Tom would make it a great time. Merle and his wife were there, Bob Loreno, his wife. We met, Lisa and I were young, we just watched how people got together, celebrated Christ, spent time together, ate together, occasionally snuck a little glass of wine up in Warwick Senate. But it was the way that sometimes at night we'd get together and just talk about God, and Linda sometimes would open up. And I got to know her through her faith. And her faith had been tested, like all of us, many times. I watched her suffer through the illness of her husband. She explained to me once, she sat me down and told me, how he used to be and how his disease affected him. I visited him in a nursing home. She used to walk him in when we would have our dinners, and it was a struggle, but she did it. Meanwhile, she was working, she had raised a son, and it was hard for those of us who go home and we go week to week. We don't know about other people's struggles. And there was a time that Linda came to me and said, listen, I want to make your rice pudding. How do you do it? So I said, okay, this is how you do it. So I went over everything with her. I wrote it down. And Linda being Linda, she thought she could make two at one time. So she calls me up and says, it didn't come out right. You didn't give me everything. I said, I gave it to you. I said, it took me a long time. I said, it took me 7 times before I got my mother's recipe right. My mother had to come over and teach me how to do it because she had certain things that she said, I had to fold something. I went to Betty Crocker and looked it up in the phone book, in the cooking book, and fold. And my mother came over and went like this. And I said, that's not fold. She goes, that's my fold. So I invited Linda over to my house. So while I taught her how to cook rice pudding, we played Beatles songs. And the Beatles songs went on. And the process of making rice pudding is like about an hour and a half. So for an hour and a half, we talked. I told her what to do, and she did it. We poured the rice pudding, and it came out. That was a long time ago. And Linda Reese never made rice pudding. But we bonded. We'd look at each other, and we knew that we spent the day together just talking and opening up. And it was about the rice pudding, but it was really about interacting. When I visited her husband in a nursing home, I see the pain on her face because I knew him when he was a happy-go-lucky guy going up, and he worshipped her feet. He worshipped her. You'd see it at the Warwick, and Linda would walk around, and Tom was right behind. Tom was a pretty big guy, but he'd get down a little bit like this, and he'd just follow Linda, pull the chair out for her. He was a consummate gentleman all the time around Linda. And there was a year that the youth group went out to Great Adventure, and I was asked to be one of the chaperones. So I had Daryl and Colin and my son Arnie in the back seat. Well, when you're driving kids, you just listen. And the conversation's going on between Daryl and Colin. My Arnie was younger. But he was like saying, these guys, I better keep my eyes on these guys today here in Great Adventure. It's, they were. Colin was a character. And years later, I saw Colin and his family. So here he was all grown up. He was a fireman. And Linda was so proud of him. Coming to the Columbus Day dinners. And you could just see it, the pride that she had for her son, who had grown. You know, and who struggled a little bit because his father wasn't there for him. My father was there for me. And when I was teaching, there were kids that sometimes whose fathers had passed away or whose fathers were away. And it's hard. Linda had to play both roles, mother and father. Linda had to work. When Tom was gone, it affected her, made her a little harder. That was the change. She felt cheated. We all do sometimes. I felt that way when my mother passed away. I felt cheated. It took me 3 years to be able to just not feel cheated. I went to sleep one night, I had a dream. My mother was afraid of water. I had a dream that my mother was going down on a raft, like the Delaware River. She had a big smile on her face, and she looked beautiful. She didn't look like the woman who died of cancer, who looked like nothing. But after that dream, after that night, I let go. I got on with my life. And like I said, Linda was here all the time for the church. The ups and the downs, and the all around. I was worried about it, sure. I was worried about her just driving the car out of the parking lot. Well, one thing I learned from Linda over all these years is don't mess with her. She's going to do it. You're not going to change her. She's going to do it her way. Church is going to miss her. But the church was so fortunate to have her. A lot of people come, and things don't go their way, they leave. Linda was here. When she moved to Jersey, everybody figured, you know, it's mute. Her son was grown. He didn't come to the church yet. Linda was steadfast, and she was here. Week in, week out. And she was there for all of us. She'd listen. And then she'd throw her 2 cents in, but she'd always listen. You know, and I really didn't know much about her job that she had as a psychologist. The stuff she had to listen to other people's lives. So in that respect, she appreciated the friendship. She appreciated what she had here. Because her whole life she listened to people who never had this experience. So that was her wisdom too. She knew. I'm a Catholic who comes here on Sundays. What I get in the Catholic Church is a beautiful thing. From when I was a younger kid, coming in, I served young. But the Catholic Church has never even come close to when I get here. Linda knew that. And she taught that to me. We're going to miss her.
How are those caterpillars coming? You guys have them at least colored? Oh wow. Okay, I'll be back to you in a few seconds. So, you know I'm on this quest to have enough t-shirts so I have a different prayer or Bible verse on my chest. Not that anybody's looking. Every Sunday. This is in place of actually buying good clothes. So, I bought one for next Easter. I bought it after this Easter because it was cheaper. And I bought one for Andrew. This was one of those like big plus size sales. And one for me and one for Linda. But I didn't get a chance to give it to Linda. So I'm going to show it to you. Because it's really appropriate, even though Linda's never going to wear this. The t-shirt says, "Death could not hold you down." we want you to think or imagine or believe that death cannot hold Linda down. Because she is a life force. I hate when we refer to people, well, he was this and he was that. Well, we are in death as we are in life, only different. Death will not hold her down. She may not be the center of conversation among us herself, but she will be the center of conversation among us for many years to come. And her spirit is free from a body who didn't do her right. And you gotta think of it that way as well. And she lives now, I'm sure, in the embrace of God, but also hovering around, not minding her own business. And this t-shirt couldn't have been more appropriate for her. Then the t-shirt I chose to wear this morning was one I actually ordered for Pentecost. And it says, "Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders." Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. And I believe that Friday, Linda allowed herself to be led beyond her fear of dying, where her trust in God was boundless, without. So may it be for us in our lives. Sorry.